Welcome back to Go Produce My Crew. My name is Big Lou, and this is the podcast and YouTube channel that explores how music industry professionals turn their passions into profit. We are on a massive mission to bring clarity to the music industry, and our goal is to help 1 million music industry professionals live off of their passion. I'm laying down the foundation that I need in order to thrive in the music industry, and I want to help you do the same. This episode is brought to you by thecharts.com. If you're a producer or beat maker looking to build your beat commerce business in less time, thecharts.com can help. With an easy-to-use, mobile-friendly interface and built-in marketing tools, thecharts.com will help you grow your brand, build your fan base, and scale your income. Sign up for free and start selling your beats and instrumentals today on thecharts.com. Today's theme is what mentality set off this young entrepreneur to do what has never been done before in the music industry. Let's go. Known for having founded Rockfest in 2005, then 17-year-old Alex Martel quickly put together the largest rock festival in Canada, welcoming thousands of music fans from around the world. The Montebello kid rose to prominence thanks to his unique background, his entrepreneurial success, his proximity with festival-goers, and the world tours that he's gone on with his band, Deadly Apples. Alex has won countless tourism and cultural awards, as well as participated in several high-profile interviews across Canada, including this one. Go Produce, this is Alex Martel. Yes, super honored to have you here, Alex. Thank you so much for being here. I want you to know that we do very much appreciate your time, so let's go ahead and make the most of it and go produce, shall we?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you here. The first segment that we're going to start off with is called The Basics. I thought you were more of a performer. No worries here, just teasing. I like to dance. Was hoping to see if you would dance, but we'll go into the question category.
I can do a mosh pit, but it's going to be a little hard by myself.
Fair enough. Troubling times here. What is your first musical memory?
I guess it's probably when I was a kid and my dad would listen to Phil Collins and Genesis all the time. I guess that's probably my earliest memory. And I'm actually going to see them this fall with my dad. They're coming, well, if it's allowed with the pandemic, but yeah, it would be my first time seeing Genesis. So yeah, that was my first music memory, I think.
That's awesome. Is there a particular song that stands out for you?
I guess I really like, lately I really like Tonight. There's just something like dark about that song that I really like. And just that whole Invisible Touch album. I know it's like one of their most commercial albums, but I just really like it. There's some really cool stuff on there. The long one, Domino. I forget what's the other one. The Brazilian, the last one on the album. Just a great album.
Yes, no, superb work. My mom is actually a huge fan of Phil Collins as well, so I can relate with that. Do you think that relationship with your dad at that age kind of created the perfect storm for which you can pursue what you did?
I guess so. And I remember like when I was a kid, I used to prepare concerts for my parents. So basically they would sit in the living room and I guess the dining room was like a few steps up. So I would have them sit in the living room and I'd be like up those stairs pretending it was a stage, and I'd like give performances, and I don't remember exactly what I did, but I guess I would like dress up and do a bunch of random stuff. So I guess I was always attracted in some way to anything that had to do with like a performance or art, basically.
That's awesome. You were visualizing at such a young age and you didn't even realize what you were doing. Because you were there for so much time, like this is essentially your whole life. What was the first lesson that you learned from the industry side?
Well, I don't know if it's a lesson, but one thing that comes to mind is the very first year of Rockfest. It was just like a one night thing for the first year. So we had like 3 bands, and we had like a tornado hit the festival site during the afternoon when we were doing sound checks. and it basically destroyed the whole site. Flooded all the equipment, the instruments, just everything. It was just a disaster, and we somehow made it happen. And we found like leaf blowers, and we're like trying to dry the stage, and we're able to send some people to get amps and cabs for the bands that had theirs flooded, and we ended up making it happen. So as I said, it's not really a lesson, but I guess I learned the hard way at the very, very beginning how unpredictable weather can be for outdoor festivals. But luckily, we never had anything similar happen in future years. That was like the worst weather we had out of all the years of the festival. So it was a rough start, but
to say the least.
Yeah.
I mean, a tornado, like we get lightning and rain, but tornadoes the next, like a whole different kind of game. But you dealt with it on the first go, and that's definitely a lesson that you learn. I mean, where there's a will, there is a way, I suppose.
Yeah, and it was a small tornado, but still, and that's actually really, really rare here in Quebec. So, yeah,
no way to prepare for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so outside of the dirty C word, because we don't want to talk about COVID too much, what is your greatest challenge currently?
I guess it's hard to say because COVID pretty much stopped everything, for the event industry. So many restrictions that, I think many events are just not going to do anything because, there's many costs involved in all the logistics of, just all the fencing that's going to be needed for that, and the extra security, let alone the reduced capacity. So
it's a reality, and we're dealing with it, but hopefully we don't have to deal with it for too much longer at the degree that we are. That is the basics. We're going into the speed round now, yes?
All right, let's do it.
All right. The speed round, I've got...
You always laugh at my sounds, man.
Maybe it's just like a nervous habit. I don't know. It's part of the transition. We're having some fun. In the speed round, Alex, I'm going to be throwing 20 questions at you at rapid succession, and you have to answer them with just one word, 1 or 2 words, no justification. You can justify afterwards. Okay?
Okay, I'll try.
All right. What is your favorite time of day?
Nighttime.
Montebello has a population of 968 people and 1,000 cows.
That's correct.
Do you prefer to read or to watch movies?
Movies.
Who is an artist that you currently find the most exciting?
I'd still go with 9 Inch Nails.
What did Jim Carrey say to... Oh, nice. What did Jim Carrey say to you when you met him?
He was complaining about everyone chasing him for selfies.
Breakfast or dinner?
Dinner.
At the end of the day, you want a nice big glass of?
Water.
What is the best place you've gone mountain biking?
Montebello.
Interesting. What's your favorite snack?
Cliff Bars.
If movies to watch, then Netflix is too.
I don't know.
Heaven and Hell Metal Fest was the last festival that you got to perform at before COVID.
Yes.
It's been too long. Is. Where's your next vacation spot?
I don't know. Hopefully Florida.
Florida. Let's get some sun. Do you have any nicknames?
People used to call me Corn when I was a kid in high school because I was a huge Corn fan.
Montebello sells tickets in every continent except Antarctica.
That's correct. It's unfortunate.
We'll have to change that. What's your cat's name?
Well, I've got 10 cats, so I can't name all of them.
Where is your favorite place in the world?
I guess I'll go with Montebello.
Okay, and which country do you really want to perform in?
Not a country, but all over Europe.
Fair. Would you go to the moon?
Sure, why not?
What is your favorite genre outside of rock?
I really like kind of dark synth pop kind of music.
Nice. Rick Nash attended your festival. Yes?
Who?
Rick Nash? I heard a story.
I don't even know who that is.
Okay, that's the speed round. We made it through. So you said Montebello is the best place to go mountain biking, and it's also your favorite place. It's also a very tiny place. I didn't realize there was mountain biking. But is this kind of your escape from the music world? Mountain biking?
Yeah, I've been doing it since I was a kid, and actually, there's a new mountain bike center that's starting here this summer. So of course, I have to name Montebello. Going back to the other question, you were saying earlier, the place I'd want to go, Europe. We actually had a tour booked of all the big European festivals last summer, and that got pushed back to this summer, and now it's getting pushed back to 2022. So yeah, hopefully it's gonna finally happen next year.
Hopefully. We'll talk a little bit more about that. I definitely want to get into the touring. But the last question that I have in the speed round, though, you said 10 cats, man.
They're actually my dad's cats, and they're at his place, but I often go there and I consider them to be mine as well.
Very fair, very fair. You gotta love them. They're part of the family.
Yeah, and they're mostly black cats, so they all look the same, and I can never tell which one is which. So yeah,
They all have enough love. Naming them isn't the important part. We've got a black cat too, so shout out to all those black cats out there. Next segment, we've got What's Yo Take? Okay, Mr. Alex. I'm going to present you with a couple of different statements or scenarios, and I just want your perspective. What's your take on establishing partnerships within the event space?
If we're talking like outdoor events, like a festival, I guess the first step is the city or the town, because if you don't have that, then you're not off to a good start.
I'm wondering, because the fact that there are so many different kinds of relationships, like, for example, establishing something with the city or with the town, you're going to have to talk to that government. You're going to have to talk to the people within it. You're going to have to talk to the sponsors. You said that if you don't have the venue or the location to do it, you're kind of, out of luck altogether. But what are the next kinds of partnerships that you have to do? How did you get that kind of support specifically for Montebello at the beginning? Maybe that's easier.
I have to remember because that was so long ago.
Probably like 10, 15
but,
years now. Yeah.
Yeah. 2005. Yeah, I mean, I really started from scratch. Like the first year, I pretty much did everything myself, and with the help of friends and family. Like we didn't even rent a stage. We built a stage made out of wood. So it was really, really, really DIY, and, made so many mistakes, and we had so many logistical issues and growing pains over the year that, I guess I had to delegate and hire professionals to do to take care of the different aspects. If I was starting from scratch now, I guess the local politicians, and I guess make sure that the local community is happy, which was the case with Rockfest, because, everyone was making so much money renting out space in their backyards for camping and that sort of thing. So
it's never really like they had pushback there?
Well, we did have some pushback. It was like, a minority of, people.
Someone always has something to say.
Yeah, there's always going to be people complaining, but, with like tens of thousands of smelly, loud punks and metalheads invading the small town, I'm not sure what they're complaining about.
Yeah. Some people will choose the word invading. Other people will say investing in the small town. It's all a matter of perspective, I'd say.
Well, I was definitely investing, and I can tell you that as soon as they understood that, they didn't mind the green spikes or the black t-shirts or whatever. They they saw dollar signs, so
At the end of the
they
day,
were happy. Yeah.
were there ever any difficult situations that you've had, perhaps just like rocky relationships that you had to maneuver? You don't have to give any names, but just how to manage those situations.
Wow, I could write a book on that. I mean, there's so many. I kind of feel like the job of a promoter, or at least my experience, uh, you kind of have to resolve issues nonstop. It's the job is basically to be a problem solver and take care of one thing after the other, and you solve one thing and then something else pops up, and that's pretty much, well, what it is. And I'm not sure if there's a way to get to understand how to deal with that other than actual experience.
It takes time. I also wonder, this kind of ties into the next what's your take, is how do you manage the energy management? Because there's always another problem. There's always something that needs to be done. But sometimes you want to go ride your bike. Sometimes you want to play with the cat. Sometimes you want to hang out with your family. How do you step away from that and manage all of that?
I didn't. So for, I guess, at least the first 10 years of the festival, that's all I was doing. Like, from the moment I woke up until I passed out, because I was too tired, and then I'd start over the next day. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of sacrifices, and Red Bull was my fuel. That was, I was addicted to Red Bull, and I was able to stop, several years ago. But yeah, I guess it's not a life that's for everyone. At the same time, it was kind of crazy, like the amount of work that I took on. If I compare it to other festivals, I remember I was talking to like the hot air balloon festival in my area, that it was like, maybe 1/5 of the size of Rockfest, if not smaller. And they had something like 20 full-time employees year round. With Rockfest, aside from the people we'd hire like during the peak times, it was basically just me and someone assisting me, and that was it. So I guess it was kind of crazy, the amount of work that I took on. But at the same time, we didn't have, just to use that festival that I mentioned as an example, they get like massive funding from their city, and they get huge grants, and it's kind of like more of a family fair type of thing. So I guess they kind of have a more, I guess, normal work method, where you do 9 to 5, and that's
Go
it,
home
and
and
that's
that's
your
it.
job. And
All the time. Were you able at all to reel in grants? I know you spoke of sponsors and you said big cities can get grants, but in terms of funding, you have to pull from different places. Did that look like? Did that include grants?
well, I mean, we did receive grants, but I guess the main problem we had over the years was that Rockfest was getting so big so quickly, uh, and with most of the grants, at least here in Quebec, it's often like a few years late before it catches up to the level that you're at. So for most festivals here, that remain pretty much the same size, and they stay that way. I would guess that the first few years are a bit more rough, but then they get the level of grants that they're supposed to get, and then they stay
Plateau.
they stay on that level. But for us, it's like, I remember, at one point from Tourism Quebec, we still had something like 65 grand for our grant from them, when other festivals that were our size were getting like 500,000 or even higher. Obviously that difference really is really a challenge. Plus also, the fact that we're, as you mentioned, we're in a tiny town, so they don't have any budget to give out grants versus festivals that are in bigger cities like Montreal or Ottawa or
So was it
Gatineau.
more so when you
Or
got like a large sponsor that the game kind of changed?
we've been with Budweiser for a long time.
How
Red
were you able
Bull.
to secure that relationship? Just curious.
Well, it helps when you're the festival in Quebec that sells the most beer over a weekend. So yeah, I think we beat several records of beer selling over the years. But yeah, I guess it was kind of harder over the years to get more, I guess, mainstream sponsors. Something like a bank or a car company, because usually when those sponsors target markets, they target big cities, and we're in Montebello, so even if we draw people from all those big cities, for them it's not the actual city where they're supposed to invest their budget. So just the location was often
An extra challenge.
yeah, exactly.
That's wild. Okay. And then so you're trying to grow the actual event. You're trying to understand all of the different aspects of it, but you're also a little bit trying to be an artist, but that was kind of put on the back burner. It was a little bit of a sacrifice, one of the sacrifices you said. But you recently started again. 2017, you opened your festival and you're doing the artistry again. So this is what led to the touring that will be happening in Europe next year, most likely.
Yeah, well, basically with Deadly Apples, it was basically the reason why I started the festival, or at least one of the reasons why I started Rockfest in the first place, because at that point, we're just starting out and we were, a shitty band that that had no experience, and no one wanted to book us because we sucked. And I just figured, I'll just put together my own festival, and then I can book us. So we were actually the first band that opened the first Rockfest in 2005, but then Rockfest was like becoming so massive that it just took all my time. So I had to focus on that.
What's your take on starting a project when you have no knowledge, no experience, no contacts, and no money? Is it wise to do so?
It sounds like you basically described my life, but yeah, it's probably not wise to do that. But at the same time, I think sometimes you just have to go for it. That's how I started all my projects.
If you don't go for it, I mean, you're not fully committed. And if you're not fully committed, the universe picks up on that. And the people around you pick up on that. And they're like, why would we help this person if they're not fully committed? So I really like the attitude that you went. It's balls to the wall, but it's done well for you. And I'm sure you're going to continue with that attitude. I'm curious to see what you are able to do with it. That does bring us to our next segment. This one is called Community Queries.
Here we go.
Hey. So in Community Queries, I've got a couple of fans that actually sent in some questions ahead of time for you. The first guest or the first fan that I have is John Dips. He's a music producer and beat maker out of Dubai. This is his question for you.
A question for Alex. If you had to set up and start this rock festival, today in 2021, given the current, circumstances or the current reality that we are facing, how would you go about it?
I'd probably just do something else.
That's a good point. I mean, like, just because the environment, the climate isn't ideal for it, or is that something you would push off, or is just not smart?
Well, I mean, it's such a hard industry, and it was even before the pandemic. I think most people, they might look at it and think, oh, it's going to be easy and fun and glamorous or whatever. But it's not. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment. It's a lot of sacrifices. So, it's really not made for everyone. So I know it's probably not good advice to hear, but when people ask me, what's your advice, I always tell them to do something else.
It's raw and it's honest.
I'm just being honest and saying, that, that's the reality.
Yeah, you're not saying you can't do it. It's just like, reconsider. Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, John Dips, for that question. You can find him on Instagram at john.dips. The next question that we've got is from Catherine. She runs CNG Entertainment in Miami, Florida. This is her question.
And I got one question for the founder of the largest rock festival in Canada. How did you manage to deal with the madness of the crowd on your first year of the rock festival?
The crowds at Rockfest were always really, really friendly, really festive, and it always felt like one big family. And there's lots of the debauchery, but it's all done in a friendly manner, and everyone becomes friends with everyone, and it really becomes one big family. So there was never really issues of like people fighting or doing anything bad like that. So yeah, I mean, we didn't really have issues with that. Obviously we needed to have a security team and first aid and all those obvious things. But it was a good crowd.
So it goes beyond crowd. It's not so much a crowd, it's a community that you've developed there. They care for one another.
Yeah, for sure.
That's awesome. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Catherine. Shout out to her. You can find her on Instagram at CNG_entertainment. Our final fan question is from Emily. She is a music enthusiast, and this is her question.
Hi, Alex. My question for you is, when you were founding the largest rock festival at the age of 17, what was it that spoke to you that said, this is what I want to do? And how did you turn your dreams into reality?
Basically, I was just a huge music fan, and I wanted to start something in my hometown. There used to be these big parties. I just thought it would be great to have something for rock music on that site, and also I wanted to book my band on a festival, as I said earlier. And to make it happen, as we were saying, I just went for it. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just a music fan, and I was 17. So, I just kind of improvised and figured it out along the way.
As you should, as every, thriving entrepreneur does. You're constantly learning, and if you're not, someone else is learning the thing that you should be learning. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for that answer. Thank you so much, Emily, for that question. You can find her on Instagram at MallyFillsXX. I don't even know how to spell that, but that's Emily. Our final segment is Clear the Air. In this segment, Alex, I want you to bring clarity to these slightly more dense questions. So, what is the moments that you will never forget from this specific time period of planning Rockfest?
What comes to mind is, when we start setting up and you can actually see the site being built and everything, it kind of makes everything become real in a sense, because, it's 1 year of planning, 1 year of doubts and stress and issues to fix. And so actually seeing it like physically being built, it's like, all of that work slowly comes to life. And also when, I see the small town get taken over by all these festival goers and get just totally transformed. When I'm used to living here year round and seeing it, pretty calm and quiet, and realizing like, oh shit, like, I did this, like, this is what I've been working on the whole year, and here's the result. It's it's a pretty crazy feeling, and it's definitely something I'll never forget.
Totally makes sense. How do you manage logistical nightmares, like avoiding those throughout your events?
I guess the best thing I could say for that is just to hire people, hire the right people, basically that already have experience, uh, and that are professionals in their fields, and that can properly plan all these things. Because as I mentioned earlier, Rockfest was getting massive very, very quickly.
Was it
And
2013 that it spiked almost?
well, 2013 is like it's almost like the infamous year of, overflowing porta potties and, many logistical issues. And that's the year that it really started blowing in popularity. And, we tripled the attendance from the previous year. And it was pretty much madness. But yeah, that was the specific year that we had the most growing pains, and we got slammed for it. And the following year, I hired the team of the Quebec City Summer Festival to come help us kind of restructure all the logistics and production. We brought in the same team as the Ottawa Blues Fest to handle, I guess, the more on-site logistics. And then we had another company called Orchestra who do the Get No Beer Fest and other events. They took care of all the logistics for outside the main festival grounds, so the camping, the parking lots, and all that stuff. And yeah, basically we just had to restructure everything, and the following year we managed to, fix everything. But at the same time, it's never perfect, and there's always issues that are going to pop up every year, or things that, perhaps worked one year and for whatever reason it doesn't work the following year because either the attendance is bigger, or something changed, or so it's I guess my point is that it's always evolving in some way. And
There are lots of variables, I imagine.
yeah, exactly.
Would you, in hindsight, knowing all of this that you know now, would you advise someone to try and sell more tickets to try and cover these kinds of things? At least maybe try and sell more than they've previously accounted for?
Well, the goal is always to sell more tickets, I guess. And that year we actually had to stop selling tickets because I guess we saw that we were getting at capacity, and if we had continued selling tickets that year, the logistical issues we had would have been even bigger. But in a sense, that kind of helped for the following year, because then people were more in a hurry to purchase tickets, knowing that the previous year was sold out. So, there's always two sides, I guess, and that helped on the ticket sales.
That's awesome. So we spoke a little bit about the more difficult parts of this experience. While doing my research, I saw that you were able to meet Marilyn Manson, and this was actually one of your favorite encounters, you said. Can you share a little bit about why or what happened then?
Well, just because, and the same can be said about like so many bands that played Rockfest. Korn comes to mind. Who else? The Offspring, Deftones. I mean, you got to keep in mind that first and foremost, I'm a music fan. So getting those bands that I grew up listening to while I was like skateboarding in Montebello, they're now playing, almost literally in my backyard. So, just having them in my hometown, and being able to meet them and become friends with some of them, it was a really rewarding feeling, I guess. And same as seeing all the festival goers, take over the town and just transform it, and just seeing that happen. I guess it just, to me, that was always the real payment. That was my reward after a year's work, basically.
Absolutely. I like that. And we can use that to transition into one of the final clear the air questions. Music festivals can be lucrative, but can you clear the air on that? Because they aren't always that. And it's not just about the money too, because you can benefit from other forms of activity through this, right?
I guess that was a big misconception for many years with Rockfest, that people always saw how huge it was and the massive headliners we had every year and everything. And they always thought, oh, they're like bathing in money, and the reality is the expenses were massive. The artist fees were going up. Plus, the issue we have in Canada is the exchange rate. So, we have to pay all these artists in USD. So, a band that costs $1 million, you have to add 33% on top of that, or whatever the exchange rate is. And now, it's 1.3 million instead of 1. So, when you have a budget of $10 million or more, that quickly adds up. So, I guess my point is that it's really not as easy or as lucrative as some people think it is. And the reason why I always kept doing it is really out of passion. That the money was never my motivator. I mean, some years we did make money, but we mostly lost money. But I guess you just have to do things out of passion, and if you really love what you're doing, and that's all that matters. But obviously, as you get older, you kind of have to think of being able to put food on the table.
Yeah.
And yeah, and
you want a roof
and
when you're 85 years old and you can't do so much work. Yeah.
Yeah.
So outside of the exchange rates and like artist fees fluctuating over time, can you give us one or two surprising expenses that you didn't necessarily consider at the beginning of your career?
Porta potties are really expensive, and it kind of sucks spending money on fucking toilets. Well, so some of the artist writers, we did have to spend a lot of money on artist writers. And as a band member, I can kind of, I feel for the promoter, and I hopefully try not to be too demanding, because I've been on that side as well.
Both sides. You got the full circle picture there. I like that. Okay, so Alex, we're almost done with this. I've just got a couple of quick final clear the air questions that I want to ask from you, and they're pretty much just your favorites from the Rockfest series. So, what is your favorite Rockfest performance?
Probably Deftones at Rockfest 2015. I had them play the Around the Fur album in full, which is one of my favorite albums ever. So I basically booked myself a private concert of one of my favorite bands playing one of my favorite albums. So that was really cool.
Take your phone, just put it over to the side. I'm busy now. Awesome. What about your favorite writer request?
I think one year there was a band that jokingly put in a pink elephant, and my mom, who shopped for the writers for many years, she actually went and found a small toy that was a pink elephant. So she actually put the pink elephant in their writer.
You fulfilled all of the needs there. That's awesome. Out of all of the years, this is, I believe, the 13th edition of Rockfest. If it goes, I think it's virtual. Which was your favorite year?
2014, I'd say.
What happened in 2014?
Well, it was after all the growing pains of 2013, so everything was fixed basically, and was a massive lineup, and the biggest turnout we had, and I just really felt like at that point I had accomplished everything that I could accomplish. That like my crazy dreams and my big vision and everything. It's like I had gotten to that point basically, and yeah, there were like specific moments I could go on, but there's just many things that year that make it my favorite. Basically, to me, it was like the pinnacle of what I always tried to do.
That's awesome. It's almost like, okay, we can do this even after the big struggles. It's like a weight was lifted off of your shoulders. I could imagine. You've done this for quite some time, and you've met a lot of people. But throughout the whole thing, would you say that there's been someone that's like stuck next to you and you want to give them like a shout out, favorite friend, something like that?
Well, I was gonna name you, but I just met you today, so.
What a guy.
Family for sure. I mean, the first year my dad and my uncle built the stage and put up the fences and everything. My mom was at the box office. My grandmother was making hot dogs at the hot dog stand, and yeah, they've always helped me through all the years, and even in the bigger years where we had massive teams and everything, my dad would still want to come with like his tractor trailer and help load equipment and stuff, just to be involved. So yeah, I obviously appreciate them a lot for doing that.
What's the nicest artist you've ever booked?
I guess I could say in general, like most of the punk rock bands from the 90s are like some of the nicest. They're not very demanding for the most part, and they're just really cool guys, and they hang out, and there's not like all the rock star bullshit and stuff and attitudes that sometimes are present in other genres. So yeah, for the most part, I kind of feel like the punk bands are the coolest.
That's cool. That's awesome. I mean, like, it goes to show you that money isn't everything, even to the artists, because they have to be passionate about what they're doing. They have to enjoy what they're doing and the people that they're doing it around. So it's very cool to see that. I'm very excited that you were able to share that with us, your story and your energy, and obviously your passion around music. So thank you so much for doing that. Alex, do you have any final words for us?
Thanks for having me, and especially during this uncertain time, where, we're not sure what's going to happen with festivals, at least in Canada, with all the restrictions, when it's going to be permitted for real. I would guess not before next year. Either way, I'm just really happy and appreciative to have experienced, all these years of festivals before the pandemic hit, and I'm really thankful to all the festival goers who came over the years. We're still selling tons of classic merch even during the pandemic, so that's obviously appreciated.
That's huge.
And yeah, again, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It was our pleasure. Where can our listeners find you?
They can find me on Instagram, Alex Martel Official. I'm also on Facebook, Alex Martel with the blue check mark. And they can also follow Deadly Apples. We're on Instagram, Facebook. And for the festival, it's Montebello Rock on Facebook, Montebello Rock Official on Instagram.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Alex Martel. That is everything. We out. This episode is brought to you by thecharts.com. If you're a producer or beat maker looking to build your beat commerce business in less time, thecharts.com can help. Remember that you can sign up for free and start selling your beats and instrumentals today at thecharts.com. Big shout out to all parties involved. You can find more value at our website at goproduce.ca. Connect with me on Instagram at go.produce. If you're on YouTube, hit subscribe. If you're on Apple or Spotify, make sure to hit download. This will really help us grow our community. I'm Big Lou, and this is Go Produce.